It doesn't matter to me whether you see me as God or not. All that matters to me is that you love me. He can pick anybody from anywhere and make him anybody else. Because I stand here as an example of how the most hard work which Bhagawan had to do in his career.
My name is Ritesh, and I'm serving as the youth coordinator at the Fremont Sai Center. As you all know, we started this series to bring inspiring speakers, devotional programs and stories to spread positivity and to enjoy Bhagawan's glory. Today, we have with us Brother Harish Krishan. Brother Harish hails from Chennai, India. He came to know Swami at the age of 7 when his mother pointed him to a photograph and said, "This is the photograph of Sri Sathya Sai Baba. He teaches that all religions are one and that there is only one God. He is the incarnation of the age." Later, it wasn't until after he finished his undergraduate studies in 2003 when he joined Swami's college in Prasanthi Nilayam for his MBA that he came into Swami's physical presence for an extended period of time. After completing his MBA, he was fortunate to work in the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust until 2012. Swami gave Harish the divine fortune to serve his physical form in his divine residence from 2005 onwards. He was blessed to travel with Swami to Kodaikanal, Mumbai, Hadshi and Chennai, and has had several special interactions with Swami on these trips. He currently resides in Arkansas with his family. Last year, Brother Harish has shared with us stories and experiences at our center, and today we will continue our satsang with him. Facilitating the session today is Dr. Srinivasan Ramakrishnan, a fellow young adult from our center. Srini has completed his undergraduate studies at the Brindavan campus of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. After his master's in IIT Madras, Srini received a doctoral degree from Stanford. Srini is also a very talented musician who plays the flute and the harmonium. Without further ado, I will now hand it over to Srini. Sarah.
Sai Ram Ritesh, thank you for the introduction. Sai Ram to all of you, all the viewers for tuning in. At the outset, let me offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our dear Lord Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba for his blessings, choicest blessings, and also for sending us his dearmost instrument here to the United States. Sai Ram, dear brother Harish, thank you for agreeing to spend time with us. I really look forward to hearing your thoughts on a lot of issues. Firstly, let me start by saying today is Friday. Today is the end of a work week. Most of us are working from home. Some of us are working for home. I don't know which category you fall into. So, just how was your week? And, start there, and maybe you can tell us a little more about your day-to-day life in Arkansas and the role that Swami plays in your day-to-day life. Over to you.
Wow, a very intense question to start with. Sai Ram Srini, Sai Ram all of you. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. It's always great to have satsang with brothers in Fremont, brothers and sisters in Fremont. So it's been a good week, yes. The initial intensity of work from home has kind of reduced, and now it's more business as usual. So now everybody is comfortable working from home. I don't know whether we'll ever go back to office, but yeah, having a nice time. How about you, Srini? How was your week?
Well, I work for a startup, so I cannot say anything at all. I think I've signed a very strict non-disclosure agreement, including general feelings about the day or the week.
Wow.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think we're all kind of getting used to this new normal. So in this new normal, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your day-to-day life, your day-to-day sadhanas, how you think of Swami on it, on any level you wish to share with us.
Yeah. So I don't know, the feeling which I have and the kind of relationship which I have with Swami is that the relationship between Swami and us has to be effortless. There is never a need for us to put a very specific time when we have to interact with him. But having said that, that is something which would come in its own time, right? So Swami has very made it very clear that initially it is very good to have a discipline of everything, have a time for everything, have even if it's going to be a prayer session for 10 minutes a day, have it for one time and then do it regularly. And that is how I've probably lived most of my young life and even during my life in Puttaparthi. But as some of you heard in my talk before, once that relationship kind of changed from uh, one for based on faith to the one based on love. See, faith is daily tested, so we need to do a lot of effort to keep the faith going strong. But love is only tasted, so I am enjoying the taste, and I know that whenever the need is there, then automatically His grace pours. So the only thing which we can do is constantly see what is the way in which we can help and how we can do our best to be His instrument.
That was beautiful. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. So while we're on this topic, maybe you can share with us, those you were in Puttaparthi for a long time, and then now you're in Arkansas, headquarters of Walmart and headquarters of capitalism. Puttaparthi is the headquarters of spiritualism. So how was that transition for you? And if you could share how Swami guided you through the transition.
That's an interesting question, Srini. There were two more steps between Puttaparthi and Arkansas, which was Singapore and Bangalore. So, but the very interesting thing here is that after I graduated from my MBA, and Swami gave me this opportunity to serve him. Then my monkey mind was such that we the position in anything which Swami gives is always seen as temporary, because we never know when Swami is going to find going to find a reason or anything for that blessing to take a different form. So I thought the only way to make my place more secure is if I get a job in Prasanthi Nilayam. And I used to bug Swami, saying, Swami, you please give me a job, please give me a job. The other boys used to laugh at me, saying, was we all take a job so that someday we can get this opportunity. You've already got this opportunity, now why are you asking for a job? So, but this used to go on. And so when I asked Swami for this, then Swami said, in a central trust lo auditor ka chestanu. I will make you an auditor in central trust. If anybody does any mistake, without fear, you can come and tell me. No, see, that is the thing. When Swami qualifies the called, so he thought that it is something which I can do. But the problem is that we can never value ourselves the way Swami values us. So I said, Swami, I don't have an accounting background. I come from an engineering background, and then I did my MBA. So, Swami, can you give me a job elsewhere? So Swami looked disappointed, and finally, then I asked for something. Swami told something else, and then finally, Swami, we came to a compromise that I will work in Swami's book trust. I mean, those were great years as well. But the interesting thing is, after working there till 2012, and then moving to Singapore for an international trade stint, and then from the same company, I moved to Bangalore. And then I thought I wanted to get back into IT, which I was doing in book trust. So I came back to US, did one more master's here in information systems, and got a job in analytics in Walmart. And guess which department was that? Global audit. So Swami's words have to come true. If you don't understand when he says it in the first place, then he will eventually show it, and then we can turn back and laugh. But yeah, so that
That's
was the
smart.
transition.
So going back to the part of your life, before coming to Swami, there's always, as you say, Swami's words have to come true. There's Swami's invisible hand always in our lives, whether we realize it or not. Can you share with us some instances from your childhood or early life that you look back and see Swami's presence and guidance?
Yeah, I mean, more than the guidance first, this is probably something which I like to share, and I got to tell this to Swami as well. So, if I guess the video is not strong enough, but if you can see, there is a scar which I have on my forehead. So, normally when people ask me how I get the scar, I joke that I was supposed to be born with a namam, but when I was born, Swami realized that my parents were pattai. So when he was moving it from namam to pattai, I got born, so it is a diagonal cross. So again, once when we were going to Kodai, Swami was walking in the aisle in the plane. So that is one of the most beautiful darshans we have, right? We very seldom sit in a chair in front of Swami. So in the flight, we are all sitting on our cushion chairs, and Swami is walking across the aisle, looking at all of us. This was in 2005, the very first trip we got to go with Swami. So then Swami looked at me and looked at this scar and asked, "What is this? What happened?" I said, "Swami, childhood accident. You only saved me." He said, "Yes," and he went. The interesting thing which happened that time was we're going in the car, in the scooter. I was standing in the front, and my father was driving the scooter, and there was this truck guy who came. Who cut the signal and came to the other half of the road, but he couldn't go to the other half because there were vehicles already moving that side, and he had to station himself in the middle of the road. So my dad had to put an emergency brake. There was no time for pumping the brake and all that. So since I was standing in front, I flew like a superhuman samurai and hit myself in the mudguard. And there was blood coming out of my forehead, and my mother got very scared. And so they immediately took an auto and went to the hospital. But I was wondering why they're all so scared. I'm not feeling any pain. So it's only after we went, and one thing which I remember doing at that time was, as soon as my father pressed the brake, I shouted Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, because that was one name which was there in my imprinted in my head right from the time when brother Ritesh was talking about the photograph, right? So the Swami's name used to be imprinted in my head, and that is constantly the name which used to keep coming out. And at the time of crisis, nothing else would come out of my mouth, and his name had come. And so I felt no pain. So I went to the hospital, and after we went to the hospital, the doctor put an injection of local anesthesia. That is when I felt pain. So till then, Swami had done the complete anesthesia, right? So that the power of Swami's name was something which he had kind of demonstrated to me very physically much earlier. But the understanding of how Swami's philosophy and all that came much later. It was like probably after 2003.
Of course, yeah, it's always good to look back and see Swami's hand in all our milestones in life, and it's a very personal way of connecting with Swami as well. So you were mentioning Kodaikanal. Maybe we could spend some time there. If you could tell us a little bit more about why those trips are particularly special when you're with Swami in Kodai. How is Swami different when he's in Kodai compared to when he's Prasanthi Nilayam? And what are some of, if there are some memorable moments, if you could share with us, that would be fantastic.
Definitely. Thank you for taking me there. It feels like I'm flying to Sai Shruti right now. So, in a student life, right? So during that time, it was like, that is considered like the peak of student life is if Swami takes you to Kodaikanal.
Yes.
And typically students like struggle so hard for that opportunity. For example, you need to have some different kind of qualifications for that. So the top singers whom Swami is like listening to every day, the boys who would sing the second bhajan, right? I mean, Ganesh bhajan is also people get turns, but the second bhajan is something like you have to be a real top singer to get that chance. So singers like that, and then speakers. There are many who speak in front of Swami, but the person who Swami allows to speak during Vijayadashmi day. So I mean, there are like some special highlights in a student career. So all those things like culminate at the end of who comes into the hallowed Kodai list. And I was someone who was absolutely not qualified in any of those categories, and I had not even anticipated to be in any of those things. But fortunately, beyond all those categories, there was one quota called Swami's quota. So where Swami could pick up some Tom, Dick, and Harry, and whom he wanted to mold. Unfortunately, in that category, my name came in, and so 2005 was our first Kodai trip, and so again before the Kodai trip, already Swami would prepare the students. So there will be multiple interview sessions where he would tell us what to pack, explaining to us how the weather is different in Kodai compared to the weather in Puttaparthi, and that we should carry like Vaseline with us or cold cream with us, and we should have woolen clothes. He will kind of tell us what we have to pack, and all that kind of information will be given. No, it will be like we are going on a picnic, and he's the younger adult in the family who's kind of guiding all the kids about what they should be doing. That is the feel you'll have. And irrespective of how you related to Swami before that, in Kodai, it's very difficult for us to, we are literally living in Swami's house. So if Swami's room is here and you find the Swami's door here, outside the door we'll be sleeping. It is like that kind of proximity is something which, I mean, very seldom we can expect to have that, right? So, and it is, you see Swami in a very human form at that time. He'll be laughing, and there'll be jokes constantly. We'll be sitting in, there'll be a room where we'll just be sitting, and Swami will be cracking jokes. He will be pulling somebody's leg. He will ask people who cannot sing to sing, and you'll all laugh at the Abashruti. And Swami will call somebody and ask them to speak something. It will be like, it is very interesting. So one of those days, Swami will, there is a lot of shops there run by Tibetans. And Swami would give us all money and ask us to go and shop something in that store so that we give them business. Right? So Swami is like, when we are going there, we should also support the local businesses there. And I mean, even those kind of things, Swami will be very careful. When that Swami says there are two things. One is gratitude. Having gratitude is one thing, but second thing is expression of gratitude. Swami says it's very important that we express our gratitude as well. It is only then that we are doing our dharma. It's only then we are doing our duty. Many of us have heard the story of how Swami will, before leaving one of the trips in Ooty, he goes to a bullock which was carrying water through all the days when he was there, and went and thanked the bullock and left. So Swami is very clear about such expressions. So they are very important. So that is one of those days we will do. We would even, Swami will send us for horse riding and all that, because those businesses also have to be supported. So he will try to make it as much as a picnic as possible. But at the same time, every now and then there will be some very, very, very valuable deep lessons. But that is something which we can catch if we are alert. Otherwise, it's very easy to just laugh the whole thing and leave. So, but fortunately for us, there will be like very experienced stalwarts, teachers who have come for many years, who would be there to guide us and who will be telling us, okay, it's very important that you maintain discipline. It is very easy to get carried away here, but this is a great opportunity. What we can achieve in this kind of proximity is very, very difficult to get. Now that we have got it, let us try to be completely focused. And Swami's charisma is such that it requires a lot of effort to not be focused on him. Because such is his magnetism that we will be attracted towards him and we will be listening to what he's saying all the time. But even then, it is easy for our mind to drift. So to have that focus and to read the subtext in what Swami is saying. So that is extremely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up very interesting points. It's sometimes not very obvious for people who are, who have not come into a lot of contact with Swami, about the level of fun in his presence, in his organization. Discipline and fun sort of coexist, and it was a revelation for me as well when I entered the hostel life. I thought everyone will be levitating and serious, but yes, Anil Kumar sir also says spirituality is not seriousness. Seriousness is sickness. Spirituality is laughter, joy, and celebration. So, but yeah, as you say, it's sometimes difficult to sort of navigate while you're having fun to kind of catch the subtext. In the same vein, so is the coexistence of Swami's physical form and his sort of divine omniscience. maybe since you have spent a very long time in his physical presence, this is probably, I'm sure this is a very difficult question for you as well. Maybe you can share your thoughts on how you sort of navigated that duality of Swami's physical form and his divine presence, and how he went in between the two to make you realize that in your own journey with him.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good question. So the one thing which, even the very beginning, which I was telling you about, how our relationship with Swami has to be, or will eventually need to get into a seamless state, right? Which should be just taste and without any effort. And one thing which Swami would not do, at least to us, is that he will not constantly be showing his omniscience. It's very difficult, right? If you cannot have a conversation with someone who knows everything. Even
Yes.
even those who watched Harry Potter movies, we found it the incorrigible know-it-all very irritating, right? So that's how it happens. But most of the conversations which we have with Swami, it will be like as though Swami is hearing from us and he will be listening, and that will be like most of the conversations. But every once in a while, he would just give a small taste, a small hint to show that he knows, so that it comes back to the back of our mind that yes, he knows. So that's what keeps us, kind of alert, and make it very. It makes it very easy for us to be truthful, because it is. You could easily think that okay, maybe we can get away because he doesn't seem to be knowing anything. But if we catch the fact that every now and then he gives you that hint that he knows, then it is easy for us to, because see, constantly what is happening is it is a test from Swami as well, because he's constantly wanting us to evolve. See, anything which he's doing, he's doing it for us. So Swami's mission goes on always despite us, not because of us, and it is also happening despite us and also for us, right? So if we are getting to be a part of any of his activities in his mission, then that is, he's doing that so that he can shape us, so that he can transform us and make us ready to take up something bigger, to go into a higher stage, right?
Mhm.
So that is the way he shapes. So to give you an example of this, there was one time when he was creating this aura of absolute uncertainty. So in Parthi, that everything seems disciplined and everything happens in its own time. But Swami can always come and create that little bit of uncertainty to make things more interesting, right? So that's why it's said in Prasanthi Nilayam, it's Nitya Nutanam Panchatoranam. Every day is new, every day is a festival. Because Swami is going to make things interesting every day. So with that in mind, there was one time when Swami was like, he would come and sit in the stage. And again, this might not be something which is very visible to everyone, but to all the students who were there, it was kind of very obvious. Swami would call the students and ask where I am. And if they say, Swami, you are in Kullanthal and Puttaparthi, Swami will say, no, this is not Puttaparthi.
Mm.
And, it is like everybody will think that, okay, Swami seems to be very confused. He doesn't know where he is. So that is the kind of situation he was creating. And that was the time when I was wet behind the ears and I just joined duty. And so Swami would take the car and go around looking for Puttaparthi. That is the kind of feeling he will give. He'll go around the car and all that. So one day he called me and said, get your luggage and keep it in the security van. So security van is the one which I used to sit and follow Swami's car whenever Swami goes somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So when he said that, I was very confused by that instruction, because normally when Swami says take the luggage and come, it should mean that come to my residence. So I thought Swami is asking me to move to his residence, so which is a great opportunity. Probably he's going to give me that chance, but no, he did not say come to my residence. He said keep it in the security van. So I took my luggage and I kept it in the security van as per instruction. Fortunately, I was not sure about what luggage he meant, so I just got some clothes and to fit in one bag, and I kept that bag in the trunk of the security van. So next day again, Swami continued the drama. So he came out and then he was like, he got into the car. So we all thought he's going to go to Kulwanthal. He went to Kulwanthal. He crossed Kulwanthal. So it's like, okay, Swami is cross Kulantal. Now where is he going to go? So then thought maybe he's going to go around inside ashram. He crossed the ashram, went out of the ashram. Okay, maybe he's going to go to the institute. And all the boys in the institute, they were getting ready. Swami crossed the institute. So next, the primary school, they were getting ready. Okay, Swami going to come to primary school. He crossed the primary school. Sai Gita, Swami is going to go see Sai Gita. Sai Gita had gone for a walk. He was not there. Then okay, then maybe he's going to go to the hostel. No, not many boys were in the hostel now. So the few were there, were getting ready and to receive Swami. Swami crossed the hostel. Okay, now it's clear he's going to go to the super specialty hospital. So then we were all going behind, and Swami crossed the airport. He was coming to super specialty hospital. He crossed super specialty hospital also. Now everybody was like, now where is he going to go? And then Swami crossed Puttaparthi. Then we thought, okay, maybe he's going to go to Bangalore. And then they started getting things ready, and Swami crossed everywhere and went all the way to Whitefield. He got down in Trai Vrindavan, and one of the people who were there, Swami went to him and said, I felt like having lunch with you, so I came here. So that devotee was like extremely, so happy. And then Swami had lunch there, and he spent the night, and the next day we came back to Prasanthi Nilayam. One of the boys who were one of the people who were there with Swami, so he came to me and said, all of us, when Swami left Prasanthi Nilayam, none of us knew where he's going to go. And he has come all the way to Vrindavan. How come you are the only one who had a change of clothes? And then I said, sir, Swami had yesterday only told me to keep luggage in the security van. So that is when, for that person also, that everybody needs that jhatka every once in a while, that punch which Swami gives. Then it's like, okay, so Swami was definitely not confused. He was very clear about, okay, he understood that this fellow is very new, and so he will not be able to take this uncertainty. So let me prepare him. So he has made sure that I carry the luggage. And all the others, they have already been trained enough that they should be in a position now to handle this uncertainty. So they were not told. So once you start understanding the distinction between the Maya Nataka Shutradari and the Maya Nataka Veshadari, the one who is directing the drama and one who is acting in the drama, then it is something which requires a constant reminder. It requires a constant reminder. It's very easy to get fooled. His Maya is extremely strong. So even way back in 1940, Swami said that Maya left me, but he never said that I left Maya. Yes, so he uses Maya as a very good tool. And but I feel that that even that is a very beautiful tool, and that is what helps us to reach the state of effortless love. So which does not require this constant need to reaffirm.
Yes, definitely. So on this one occasion, you escaped. Were there other occasions where you got caught in this Maya, and maybe you can tell us how Swami sort of pulled you out of it?
Yeah, I'm sure there are many. So this is probably something which I've shared earlier in Fremont about. Okay, let me share about something else, little different. So it was my parents' silver jubilee day. And one of the things I used to take pride in, there is that Swami says that even the humility, there's a pride of humility. Sometimes you get too proud about your the fact that you are not proud.
Humble bragging.
Yeah, the humble bragging. So one of the things I used to really take pride in was the fact that I would never ask Swami for favors. That even if parents are coming, I would not tell Swami that my parents have come or anything like that. Unless Swami asks, I will not initiate that conversation. But till then, like every festival or anything, Swami will always remember, and either he will directly give a sari to my mother, or send it through someone, or give it to me to give it to her, or any occasion, Swami would always remember and he will take care. So this was the silver jubilee, and there was a lot of pressure from from our family members, right, extended family members, that they want that this should be a big celebration. And since most of our family was in Chennai, they wanted that celebration to be in Chennai. But my parents said, no, our son is in Puttaparthi, so we will go to Puttaparthi only to celebrate this. And as such, I felt that my father was a very loud person in our family, right? So he was he kind of was a person who took our entire family to a different level by all his hard work and all that. So it was expected by the family that his even his 20th wedding anniversary is a big deal, and the family wanted to cherish it. But now, because of me, they are coming to Puttaparthi and they are not able to celebrate it in a grand way. So that was the feeling which was there, and I could read that in the air. And so I kind of felt like, okay, now we have to make this even more extra special for my parents. And what could be more special than a chance to get Swami's Pada Namaskar or something like that. So I was thinking like, okay, now I've never asked anything from Swami. So today I'm going to ask, because it is my duty as a son for my parents that I should do something special for their silver jubilee. So I'm going to go and ask Swami. So since I've never asked anything like this to Swami before, of course Swami will have to say yes, he will grant it. That kind of thought was very high. So Swami came for darshan. Then he went. He spoke to people and went to interview room. I got this chance. So then I went to Swami and said, Swami, it is my parents' silver jubilee. Then Swami looked at me coldly and said, what do you want me to do about it? So I was like, no, Swami, maybe you can give a Pada Namaskar or... That was his response. So then Swami was... the thing which Swami is most busy with is reading letters. So then he started taking out the letters and started reading them. And then after some time, he looked at me and said, Pilu, call them. So I was like, I was absolutely down in the dumps. I was like, my God, I was first time I'm asking something for that too for my parents. I'm asking, why does he have to treat me like this? That was the kind of feeling which I had.
Yeah.
But I went and called my parents, and when my parents were going, they were saying, you come. I told, no, you go. Because I was having their anger towards him. So they went inside, and Swami spoke to them beautifully. And then the end, Swami called me also, and Swami gave us a beautiful photograph. And during that time, and when they were going, I saw that they were carrying some nice cloth pieces with them. My mother was having a sari, and my father was having a safari piece and all that. So then I was surprised in the sense that when did this happen? So then I realized that Swami has already planned that for their wedding anniversary, he has to give all this, and he had already kept all these things ready. So when they came, he had already planned this. After all, his own children, that he is blessing on their wedding anniversary. Why am I having this ownership that it is my parents, and I have to go and ask him? And because of my prayer, he has to grant that blessing to him. See, even when this relationship of Swami to every person is direct, right? Heart to heart. So, but this Maya of this relationship which you have, then you feel like you have to go and give this recommendation for your parents. And that is when I realized that what annoyed Swami was the fact that he felt that I even felt that need to ask him. Has he not been taking care all this time? Has he not always remembered, and has he not always blessed them whenever it was needed? What was the need for me to point that out to him? That is when I realized the lack of interest which Swami showed was probably for that feeling of mine, rather than this feeling of why did I ask that question to Swami. So that is like, I know it's a little different from the kind of question that you're asking, but again, it falls under the same category of Maya enveloping you.
Yeah, no, I think talking about Swami's Maya, it will consume, the entire night or maybe a few more days. In these uncertain, in this uncertain life, especially in the uncertainty around Swami, what was certain? What was his sort of daily routine that you could, if you could share with us? A typical day in Swami's life. What were some certain aspects to it? A glimpse into Swami's life.
Again, nothing is certain. So that is a given. But the only thing which the way that this whole thing trained you or trained all those around Swami was to live in the present. We had to live in the present because we had no choice. right? So very seldom, very often we think that we have to live in the present, but we have to plan for the future and all that. But when Swami was there, Swami was doing all the planning. So it was impossible for us to do any planning of our own, because our life had been handed over to him. And yes, we can, something is there, we can schedule it, we can go to Swami and pray for it, but nothing is certain. Even it's like we never could tell anyone that yes, we will be there for such and such thing, or no, nothing could be told. Everything has to, the instruction has to come from Swami. So it was the fact that he was directing our life so much in Prasanthi Nilayam, very physically and very directly. It kinds of makes it even easier now when we think back that it is very difficult for us to plan too much of our life, because it's now we know that he's the one who's handling it, he's the one who's taking care. And it is like the Swami tells the stupid man who carries the luggage on his head in the train, because he says the train is already carrying so much luggage, why should it carry my luggage also? So irrespective of whether we carry the luggage on our head or we keep it down, the train is going to carry. So that kind of feeling is something which we learn from. But most of Swami's day was kind of planned, so we would know that what time. Typically there's a time when like when I was sleeping in Swami's residence, there's a time in which I had to get up and go every morning, because that was a schedule. So 4:30 a.m. I was up and will be out, and I'll go back to my room, get ready, and then we'll be there for morning darshan. Swami would, the timing which Swami used to come, apparently, I mean, it used to be very fixed for many years in his life. But during the times when I was there in the last, post 2005, there used to be like a lot of changes in the time when Swami would come. And then after Swami comes, we would go for darshan, and after darshan, the Aarti, and then when Swami comes back for lunch. So there used to be some kind of a discipline towards the way it was going, but there was always that kind of uncertainty as well. The only thing which would probably be absolutely unchanged is his relationship with the students and with his devotees. That love would always be there, and there would also be the test which is also constant. So that's what. So they say Swami's mercy is so high that if he feels that he has to drag you through the fires of hell to make, if it's that is then to make your life better, then he will do that for you as well. So there will be all kinds of things which happen, but then we know that the undercurrent of love is so high, and that we could always turn to him, and that he's always there for us. So that feeling is probably the only thing which is constant all the time.
That's true. That is very true. So you mentioned Swami's anecdote about us carrying the luggage while we are in a train, when the train is already carrying the luggage. How do you think of prayer in that context? We are very we feel that connection with Swami. We feel that he's taking care of our life. Where does prayer fit into all this?
Again, that there are stages to that, right? So the first stage is what Swami says is that don't ask anyone else, ask me. So that is step one. So Swami says, in fact, you used to say, don't ask your father. Even if you need money or something, don't ask your father, you come and ask me. So that would be the first thing. So make sure that all your desires or all your prayers or everything, it gets turned towards me. So that is good. So Swami is very happy with that, and as long as, and he says, if you have to come with a begging bowl, you come to the one who has everything, right? Why do you have to go to someone who has got him? The person himself has limited resources. How much can he share? Instead, you come and ask me. Then the person who has infinite resources, I can give you what needs to be given. Then I had this opportunity to ask Swami, what is the thing which we should pray? What is the thing which you should ask? And again, this answer would change to each person based on what location they are, right? So at this point, Swami said, the only prayer you should have is Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. In fact, I think that time he told me Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. It was before Swami changed it to Samasta Loka. He said the only prayer you should have is that you always pray for Loka Kshema, pray for everybody to be fine. But then there comes a stage even when even that prayer becomes, futile. It's like, why even have that prayer? Why to pray shows a distinction? Why to have that difference? So then you just be a witness, and then you see the whole thing as this drama and to see it as a role. So again, that depends on each person's stage. But I think the very first thing which prayer accomplishes is changing all our turning all our desires towards Him and making Him the uh, source of our desire. So there is one song in Tamil says, "Kamamum, Krodamum, Lobamum, Mohamum, Unpada Bhaktiyai Maravendam." Let even desire and anger and lust and greed and all of that, let it turn into a form of devotion to you. So just by directing even all these negative emotions to Him, it becomes an Nevedyam,
Yes.
right? So that is probably the first step in prayers.
Yeah, definitely. That's why we offer everything at His lotus feet. That's, that includes all our happinesses, sorrows, everything. So while we are on the topic of prayer, how has Swami played a role in some of your life decisions? What has been his guidance in your own personal path?
For me, I would say that there are two things. One is the friction which I feel, and second is the feeling within the heart which you feel. Those are probably been the kind of the two main indications for me for life decisions, right? So even for this particular movement towards for me to come to the US and do another masters here in Arkansas, even as early as like 2012, so when I had moved to Singapore, so I came back to Prasanthi Nilayam for Swami's birthday. And then on Swami's birthday, one of the discourse clips were played, and it was during convocation. And in that clip, Swami is telling that it is very important that everybody serves their motherland. So even if you don't get a job in your motherland, then do nothing and serve your parents. So I was like aghast. I just moved out of the country, and I come back to Prasanthi Nilayam. This is the message Swami is giving. So I was like very, very upset, and but that was like constantly running in my head. And then slowly we kind of spoke to our people in Singapore, and we in the same company we moved to Bangalore. We came back to the country, and it was such a right time. As we were planning that, that was the time when my father was starting to not feel good, and he had a tumor and all that. And fortunately, I was able to be there and meet him multiple times during his last few months on this earth. Like Swami had told my parents that come to me after your retirement. And in my father's case, it became very literal. So immediately after his retirement, he went to him. And my mother, after retirement, she moved to Prasanthi Nilayam. So that way he kind of probably gave me that message at that time, so that he prepared me to come back to India, so that I was there to serve my father during those times when he needed me the most. And after that, for this US trip, it was I was actually speaking to my friends in the US for my brother-in-law for his masters. So that is the time when one of my friends told me about this course in the University of Arkansas, where not only is the course, it gets over in 9 months, and they give full scholarship, and they need some work experience. I was like, I don't know about my brother-in-law, this suits me perfectly. And just when at the time when I was thinking about what to do next, and this came on its own, and for this there were some entrance exams needed, like GRE, TOEFL, and all that. Without any preparation, after we had this conversation, I got in touch with somebody in the university. I went and I took these exams like with some 1 week of preparation, and applied, got in it. I mean, things like moved so fast and so smooth. It was very clear it is only Swami who's doing it, right?
Yeah.
And the other indication, which the way I connect with Swami, is that without any reason, there's a spurt of joy which comes from within the heart. And then I know, okay, this is the only person who has access to that place is him. So if something like this is coming without any apparent reason, then it is coming through him. So that is the way I probably connect. And so again, decision making is always a hard thing, but just knowing that what is happening to us is the only way things can happen. Even now I turn back and think about the things which I feel like that should not have happened in my life. But when you analyze a little more deeper, you realize that it is because that happened that something else happened.
Correct.
So very often that we miss the hidden blessings in the time which seem to be hard.
Yeah.
So I feel like you come to a stage when you feel that even taking decisions is an illusion. Things are happening the only way it is supposed to happen, because the engine driver is Swami. So we may think that we are making the decisions, and we think that, what are we going to do at this time? The simple answer is it doesn't matter. Let us just do what seems to be, like the way Hanuman did in Sundarakandam. Let's see what would Rama do. Just think about it in that way. If it is a decision which requires a thought like that, or if it is a decision which does not require a thought like that, just do anything, because you are the only thing which you can do is what Swami has chosen for you anyway. So with that, there is no need to carry a load of guilt or a load of pride for any decisions, because things happened that way because that's the only way it could have happened.
Yeah. He's the doer, you're the instrument type of. So here, maybe slightly changing gears. When you were with Swami, so Swami often talks about achieving, your unity of thought, word, and deed. So given that you are in the physical presence of Swami, but he knows what you think, he knows what you feel, and you have this heart-to-heart connection with Swami. How did that help you? How did spending those many years with Swami help you achieve that unity, or work towards that unity between thought, word, and deed?
That's a very good question. So I think that again steps back into that concept of being in the present, right? Because the moment we utter a lie, we are already living in the future.
Yes.
Because then that constantly it is about how we are going to cover this up, what we are going to do tomorrow to make sure that this thing is right, or all those kind of things come. So the easiest thing to do is to tell the truth. But since this is going beyond just the words, it's also talking about thought and deed, I think I probably again have to go back to another experience involving my father. So again, one of my early days of doing duty with Swami, my father had got into an accident, and he was admitted in the hospital. And then I went and asked Swami, this is what is happening. So Swami's response for that is, okay, he gave me a vibhuti, a lot of vibhuti in my hand, and said, go and come back in 2 days. So he was very clear. He said, go and come back in 2 days. So I said, okay, Swami. So even saying okay is not something which we can take it lightly, because once Swami has said this and you have said okay, that means that it is as good as you having said it. So when I went back to Chennai to see my father in the hospital, I kind of openly told my family, extended family was there, that this is what I'm going to do. Swami has told, and that I've been here for 2 days and I'll go back. So they were like aghast. What are you talking about? It is your own father, and he's admitted in the ICU. He's not even in a general ward, he's in the ICU. And you cannot go back after 2 days. Your first duty is towards your parents. Your Swami only has told, no, that parents is first. How can you not do that first? Fortunately for me, my mother was a pillar. So she stood between me and the extended family and said, no, you take care. And the interesting thing which happened was, normally when somebody is in the ICU, they don't allow anybody to be with that person, right? Except probably during visiting hours. They'll just allow you to go glimpse and come back. But my father was an extremely strong person. And since he had an injury which was near his head, he was a little disoriented. And he was constantly getting up from the ICU. He had all this... the saline and all that going in, and he used to constantly get up and remove everything. And the nurses were not able to handle him. So then they said, is there anybody from your family who can be with him? So during those 2 days, I got to sit next to him during that complete time. And the vibhuti which Swami had given me, I had started applying on his face wherever the scars were there and all that. And within those 2 days itself, we started seeing that the scars started reducing a lot. My father was seeming to started to get better, but he was still in the ICU. So the end of the 2 days, my mother said, okay, you go now. I will take care. Wait, that was a very difficult decision, right? Your father is still in the ICU and then to come back. But it was very clear that's the instruction which Swami had given. So we said, okay. And then I left and then I went back to Prasanthi Nilayam. And like within a couple of days, Swami, my father was back from ICU to general ward, and then he was getting much better. The only thing which he continued to have was a double vision, which Swami called them to Prasanthi Nilayam, and my father insisted that Swami presses his eyes. And even when Swami was touching his eyes, my father said, no, you press it hard. So that was an opportunity he got, that Swami was really touched his eyes pressed his eyes nicely. And when he came out of the interview room, of course his double vision was gone. So I was thinking that he could have, when he gave that vibhuti that time and I had applied it on his face, when all those scars went off, the double vision also could have gone with that vibhuti itself. But he had to make it very obvious that this is something which he alone has done, so that there is no confusion there. Sometimes we need that, because for even for faith to build, every now and then Swami has to give us that extra experience which we cannot deny. So
Correct.
that was beautiful. So in the sense that, so it was simply knowing that he's taking care, and so the word which is given to him is a word which has to be kept, and we have to have our actions in alignment with that. So that's probably as close as I can get to answering that question.
Yeah.
And of course, I have a long way to go to really say that I have put that in practice, right?
Yeah. For all of us have a long way to go. One question that we got from one of the viewers is, were there any? This question has two parts. Maybe you can answer whichever you choose to answer. What was Swami's take on religion, scriptures in general? And then the second part is, what in your presence were there any revelations that Swami made which were very profound, which you thought were profound, that you could share with us?
That's an interesting question. So again, this is, I think, something which is extremely personal. And from my understanding, this question has been answered very differently to different people.
Mm-hmm.
At the holistic level, what Swami has said is very clear, in the sense that there is the unity of religions, and every religion leads to God. So that is one thing which is very interesting when you think about it, right? When you look at all the masters who have been there, like there was Ramana Maharishi, there was Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and they all talked about one particular way. Even Aurobindo, they had a particular path, and then they would talk about how that was a superior path because they could see. They were on the road and they could see the kingdom of God in front of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody went to Ramana and asked, why, irrespective of how any devotee is coming, why are you always asking them to say, who am I? There should be a better way to answer them. So he says, because I know this works.
Yes.
Right. So most of the masters, they know what path works, and then they guide all the people who come to them in the same path. But in Swami's context, it was a little different, because he was already born with the awareness. So just think about it like that. There's a mountain which has multiple paths coming to the peak. The person who is in the peak can see all the paths coming.
Correct.
But anybody who's walking in one of the paths can only see that path.
Yeah.
And so nobody is wrong. Anybody who's saying that, see, this is the only path to God, because they are not able to see any other path.
Yes.
But Swami, being in the position that he is, it was very easy for him to see all the paths, and he could see what each person's individual state was.
Mm-hmm.
And based on that, he would either guide them in their own path harder, or if he finds that there's a shortcut which is easier for that person, he would guide them in that as well. So there is a devotee to whom Swami would have told that, taking care of your parents is the most important thing. You take care of your father and mother, that will take you to the path.
Yeah.
There is another person whom Swami has sent to meditate in Vasishta Guha. And when they come to tell Swami about, I'm not sure how my mother is, then Swami started shouting at him, who's your mother? Why are you thinking of another human being as your mother? Based on each person, Swami used to connect to them differently. Like Professor Gokak, the first Vice Chancellor, Swami used to describe in detail about Sri Aurobindo's book and help him understand and to go in that path. But when he found one student reading Aurobindo's book, Swami hit his hand on his head and said, why are you unnecessarily complicating your life? Sai makes everything so simple. Why do you go and read such complicated books? Right? So, that is something which the way Swami guides each person individually.
Yeah.
So I tried to use this as a way to escape. So I went, because we used to go to our Kuladevata's temple and all that very regularly. So I thought, okay, enough now. I don't have to get into any more rituals and all that. I want to be very free. So I went to Swami and said, Swami, for me, there's nobody else except you. And so do I still need to go to the Kuladevata and all that? Then Swami said, you can do both. So again, if you're going to go just by the text and all that, we can always say that, Swami has said, you can choose any name, any form. All that is true. But again, if you're going to go and ask Swami, then he has guided each person individually based on where they were and what they needed to do. So I think the only way to get the answer to that is to connect to Swami and get the answer directly.
Yes, that's very true. So if you were to, in your time with Swami, like top 10 HD TVs that Walmart is selling, something like that. If you were to, what's the most fascinating thing? I'm sure you have plenty of experiences to share with us. Could you just share, one or two that were just, out of, if you were to suddenly, if I wake you up in the middle of the night and ask you this question, what would come to your mind?
Yeah. The first thing is definitely the fact that spirituality is fun. So that is something which I never realized before I came in 2003. I came in Swami's presence, and how going towards God is the entire journey is happy. Okay, we know that happiness is union with God, but even the journey towards that union towards God, with God can be full of happiness. So one of the interesting things is one of the interactions we had. We were sitting in the interview room. There used to be 5 of us around Swami at that time. Swami used to call us the Pancha Pandavas. And Swami is asking each of us.
Which one you were?
Yeah, so that's a different story. So that was started, and one brother Nitin Acharya used to be there. And so when Swami asked who's Dharmaja, we all told brother Nitin Acharya, because he's the one who guides us all, and we all obey him. So then the next person, Bhima, it became me, simply because I was the bulkiest among them. So, but I was very happy because Swami has always referred to Bhima's devotion very nicely. But anyway, this story which I'm talking about is a little different. So Swami is asking each of us our names and asking for the meaning of that name. So I was talking about brother Nitin. So Swami asked him, and he said Nitin, and he said, what is the meaning? He said, Swami, it is another name for Krishna. So then Swami came to me and asked, what's your name? So I said, Swami Harish. And then what is the meaning? Then I said, Swami Hari ante monkey. Hari means monkey. And Swami was like, what are you saying? Then I told Swami his own Chinnakatha. I said, Swami, in your Chinnakatha, you have told that Narada once goes to Narayana because he wants to marry a princess who wants to marry only somebody who has got a Harimukha. And Narada goes to Narayana and says, see, I've been a bachelor for too long, and this girl is someone I like, and but she wants to marry only somebody with a Harimukha. You please give me Harimukha. And then Narayana says, Tathastu. He goes down, and then everybody laugh at him because he has a monkey face. And then Narayana himself comes down, and that princess is none other than Mother Lakshmi, and she goes and marries Narayana. So then Narada goes with anger to Narayana and says, "What, I asked you for Harimukha, and then if you wanted to marry her, you could have told me. Why did you unnecessarily embarrass me?" He says, You say you are a great scholar. Do you not know that in Sanskrit, Hari has another meaning called monkey? And Harimukha also means monkey face. So I told that story to Swami. Okay, and but this joke was not taken well. The way you laughed right now, nobody else laughed in the interview room. It was dead silence. And everybody was silent because normally we all wait for Swami's cue, right, to see how Swami's reaction is. And Swami's reaction was aghast. Swami is like, "No, you should not tell all this." It's like, parents have named you. It is you cannot make fun of your name. It is not right. I was like, oh my God, this joke fell flat. And then Swami comes out of the interview room, and then he sits in the bhajan hall. And then he continues the story. He continues this game. He starts asking some more boys in the bhajan hall what their name is and what it means and all that. Then again he turns towards me in bhajan hall and says, "What is your name?" And then again I say, "Swami Harish." Then Swami, in front of everyone, he shouts, "Hari ante monkey." Whole bhajan hall is roaring in laughter. I was like, I cracked the same joke a few minutes back. It was dead silence. How come when Swami cracks it, the whole bhajan hall is laughing? There's a twinkle in Swami's eyes. It took me many years to actually understand, behind this. It's like when Swami owns us, everything about us is owned by him. We do not even have the right to make fun of our own name. It is only Swami who has the right. So he has the right to make fun of your name, and when he does it, it is funny. We can all laugh. But we don't have that right. So that is the amount of ownership that he faces. They say Swami is a very possessive God. It is true in the sense he is so possessive that he does not even allow us to own ourselves. So that is probably one of the most beautiful experiences I had. And the second instance I will probably share is something which is probably the direct opposite of that. So this was during Dashara, and during this time, what will happen? We would be in Kulwanthal, and Swami would give darshan in Kulwanthal, and then he would go to Purnachandra for giving darshan to devotees sitting there and to take part in the yajna. And so usually after the Kulwanthal darshan, Swami would tell us, "Okay, you also come with me to Purnachandra," and we would follow Swami and accompany him there. But that day he looked at the two of us who were there that day and said, "No, you both of you stay in Kulwanthal." And Swami went to Purnachandra. So we were thinking, okay, this is interesting. Maybe Swami is going to come back or what it is. So Swami went to Purnachandra and the Kulwanthal was absolutely empty. Just the two of us were there. So we walked all the way towards the ladies' side, normally in Kulwanthal, because nobody was there. And in Purnachandra, if you, those of you who have been there, the ladies' side and gents' side gets swapped. So we went to the end of the ladies' side because that will also be the side of the boys in Purnachandra. So we were standing there, and it was like considerable distance, right? We are in Kulwanthal and Swami is in Purnachandra. He's coming to the stage. And then suddenly I realized my hands automatically went up and into folded state, and it was like, oh my God, it is God. Very frequently when you're sitting right next to him and you're serving him, it is very easy to forget that. The relationship becomes way too casual and way too business like. He kind of becomes a boss, right? So that is the kind of relationship you have. And suddenly to be able to see him from this distance, and at that time it's like, okay, there's not going to be any work. I don't have to look for every gesture. I don't have to see what he's trying to say, whether he's asking for Karchiv is asking to take the chair somewhere, he's asking to get some clothes. I don't have to watch for the gestures. I could just stand and enjoy him. Somehow after I got that proximity, and then to get this, I remember that is probably one of the darshan which I enjoyed the most. To just stand and admire him without any tension about what it is, what action I have to get into, to just to be in awe and to admire the majesty that he is. So that is probably another instance which kind of
Yeah, that's
sticks in my
definitely one
mind.
of the ultimate miracles of Swami is the
Yeah.
the sheer number of people that he has touched. Just the one sight of him or even one thought of him, thousands of miles away from Puttaparthi, fills you with this with this feeling of bliss and belonging to Swami that only I think he can produce in our hearts. I'll maybe ask you one last question since we are sort of out of time and it's 10:30 in Arkansas. But there's no better time to talk about Swami than after 9:30, right?
After night prayer. Ting, ting, ting.
Yeah, exactly. After night prayer, that's when all the real thoughts come out. Um, so you talked about Swami's organization simplifying a lot. This example of Swami saying, "Why are you reading Aurobindo's literature? I've made it so simple for you." And one of the cornerstones of his sort of simple philosophy is, of course, love all, serve all. So let's talk a little bit about serve all and what you witnessed, what you learned in Swami's presence, and what Swami himself taught either you or someone else in your presence about service. If you could share that, that would be great.
Thanks for that question. So the most beautiful thing about serving in Swami's name is that it kind of makes it easier for us to do it without ego. There's one very beautiful thing which Swami says about when we go for Gram Seva. So our professor used to say that Gram Seva is like is a very unique opportunity where we get to do a gram of seva and get a ton of grace. So Swami used to guide and guides us as what should be our thought when we hand over a food packet or a piece of clothing to somebody. Swami says at that moment when you are giving it to someone, give it with the thought that you're returning to them something which belongs to them. So when you're holding, for example, you're holding a sari in your hand and you're giving it to a mother, don't give it like it is my sari which I'm giving it to the mother. It is a mother's sari which I am holding at this moment and I'm handing it to her. Swami's, I mean that's a very small thing, but that has a very different impact in the psyche of giving. Even the thought that that the person who gives his hand is always up. Even those kind of things are out. First of all, when you're giving in Swami's name, we know that Swami is who's the doer. It is Swami who's giving. And the second thing is, and you are not only not the giver, you have become the custodian. Because Swami has already kept that person's name on that particular prasadam or gift or sari or dhoti or whatever it is. And we are the custodian who are making sure that we are, at most we can consider ourselves the delivery boy. Right? So that is the maximum status that we can get. So that is number one. Number two, who is the beneficiary? It is very easy to think that super specialty hospital was built for the patients. The water project was done for the people who are getting the water. The various schools which were started were all done for those people. I remember when Shri V. Srinivasan, when he was All India President, he used to come to Swami's house, and Swami is also the head of a huge organization, right? So there will be a lot of reporting happening all the time. And so he will come and say that, Swami, I went to such and such place. I went to this state. I went and visited this school. Very good work is happening there. Typically, when Swami says something like that, the first thing which, when the All India President says something like that, the first thing which comes out of Swami's mouth would not be about, okay, how are the students doing, or how are the patients recovering well. Swami would remember a teacher who is there, or a headmaster who is there, and say, yes, that person, he's doing very good work. yes, that person is doing great work. How is he? How is that person? So just imagine, by doing his work, how much we are in his mind, and how much he is doing that, how much he's allowing us to do this action, so that the transformation occurs in us and we gain all these punyas. To just give a small one more interlude to this, one small addition. There was once state president's meeting in Prasanthi Nilayam, and when Swami was going to meet the state presidents, then they're all waiting, and then Swami was very serious. And that was the time when the super specialty hospital in Prasanthi Nilayam was newly built. So he looked at the state presidents and said, see, if anybody comes to you and says that somebody is not well or somebody is not fine, you send them off to super specialty hospital. So they come here, and the hospital has got limited beds. So whoever can be treated, they are treated. Others, they are put in waiting list.
Mhm.
So then all these patients, they come and sit in Kulanthal, and then they expect Swami to treat them. But when I look at their karmic chart, there's nothing which I can work with. I was very surprised that Swami would talk something like this. Of course, Swami can go beyond and do everything, but
Mhm.
but Swami follows a certain set of rules, right? So he said, so next time if somebody comes to you, ask them to do some service. Make them do some service. If they are not in a position to do service, ask them to come for bhajans and ask them to sing bhajans. Even that is seva. And then you send them to Prasanthi Nilayam, then I have something to work with. So after this, it kind of becomes very clear as to who is the beneficiary, right?
Yeah.
So Swami is making us do the service and all that, so that we get whatever it is that is needed for us, for him to work on us more. Yeah. So that is probably what I want to tell about service.
No, that was fantastic. I mean, service is such an important cornerstone of the organization. It's very easy to sort of misunderstand or misinterpret, or just not, be ignorant about it. Just knowing that perspective is, I think, very helpful for our own, spiritual upliftment. And as you said, it's you're serving yourself in a way by doing service to others. Your service, Rama
Right in self-interest.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, at this juncture, I think it's 8:45 here. It's 10:45 in Arkansas. I wish we could keep talking. Hopefully, we get another future opportunity. It's been lovely talking to you. I think first of all, thank you for spending the time and sharing your thoughts and experiences with us. We're all very lucky to have you here and listen to you for this amount of time. And I'd also like to thank all the viewers and brothers and sisters that submitted questions for Brother Harish. So thank you once again. And let's have a good night, and let's all think about what Brother Harish has covered today. I think we did a whole awareness course syllabus from first semester to sixth semester in an hour. We talked about service, we talked about prayer, unity of thought, word, and deed, the duality of Swami, the uncertainty around Swami, the certainty around Swami, and so many topics. And it was just lovely to have this conversation with you. Thank you, brother, once again, and hope we can all sort of think about what brother has shared with us today, and try to imbibe some of those lessons in our own lives. So thank you all. Thank you, Brother Harish, once again. Sai Ram to all of you.
Sai Ram.